Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another live stream of Hearthstone. So it doesn't seem like Blizzard's doing the greatest of jobs to get the daily quests straightened out. So we've got things all over the place that we need to do. The good news, however, it seems like if I just play a warrior and then cards that cost 5 or more, I can get all 3 of these done, and I only need to do 2 of these since today's Monday, December, I believe it is the 18th. Yes, December the 18th. 7 days until Christmas. I either had a watch and learn, or I believe I got a watch and learn on all of the accounts. Ooh, a legendary classic. Very, very helpful. Exactly what I need is a legendary classic.
Legendary.
Actually, extremely, extremely helpful. I've been wanting that card for a very long time. Of course, the sad thing is, it's not like I'm gonna get around to making a deck with that. Let's see. Can we make the meta deck that would like get rid of this, just get rid of it completely, make a new deck with the mage, and we'll see if we can do this. So we need the cards that would duplicate. Let's see, duplicate. When a friendly minion dies, put it in there. If your deck has no duplicates, that's not what we need. If your deck has no duplicates, heal your thing. That's not what we need either. There's also some cards we can disenchant, so we'll go ahead and disenchant that for dust while we're here. Must be the key phrase copy. I suppose there's room there to make here it is. Here's the card that we would need 100 dust to create another one of, so we don't have that. And then moving on, we need the, I suppose I could have just downloaded the code to make this deck. You've seen it played before, certainly, where you get multiple copies of this. This is a very late game deck too. Multiple copies of this character on the field to reduce the cost of the fire blast to the point where they're 0 mana, and then in one turn you can save yourself. And to kind of succeed at that, you have to also have the secret that makes you immune to keep you alive. Let's see. Spell damage 2, probably not a terrible idea, but that's probably better. Interesting, I'll take that card. Drawing cards is probably a good move for a strategy like this. Freezing your enemies, probably not a bad idea. Frozen clone, not likely to happen. Secrets that cost 0. We'll take that. Vaporize is probably a little bit better than Secrets that Cost 0. Because this deck certainly does build around the idea of as a fireball we could throw in there. Not that you really even need the fireballs. So if I can get four of the Sorcerer's Apprentice on the field, these become free. I can play them while I have Archmage and TARDIS on the field. And let's see, is there really anything more to do? In all honesty, there's probably a decent thought to get some more draw in a deck like this. So cards that will draw cards and are likely to draw cards. Death Red will draw a card. So get rid of 2 Pyroblasts, put that in instead. Of course I should pick Novice Engineer before I pick that. Get rid of the 1 Fireball, take that. I want to keep Explosive Ruin. So we'll get rid of one of these. And then we'll get rid of another one of these so we can do this. I need a second one of these and I don't have enough dust. And I don't think it makes a lot of sense to get more dust that way. And then there's some more room for like drawing cards. You're playing clearly to one and only one strategy when you do something like this, and totally full of duplicates when you're playing a strategy like this. I suppose that if you have enough cards you could come back and only have one of each of these and then replace them with something else, but it would be really difficult to figure out what to replace them with. And when we look here, this is just a bunch of mage cards and not too much mages and spells. If we convert this to standard, the duplicate and the Firewalker are the only 2 things that make this a wild deck. So I'm just gonna call this meta to start off with, and we're starting on a weird way because I got a legendary. That really has nothing to do with playing warrior class cards right now. But I do kind of want to also try that out, but we'll do that later. Warrior. We have a weapons deck for warrior, and we have enrage armor for warrior. Let's just, I suppose, play the weapons deck. Might as well play ranked. Might as well play standard. And let's begin. Now, news-wise, it's not like there's a ton of news. So I suppose that added a few minutes of us streaming for no reason, just to rebuild our deck. We have that 40 gold quest to play cards that are 5 or more. Those in particular, I suppose that quest may get traded out. Now that I look at it, it seems like there's more neutral pirate cards in this deck than I thought. So this isn't even a good deck to play warrior cards. but I do need victories too, so let's play this and see if we can win. Here's a video that says from Gematsu, or Gematsu, I never know how to pronounce this site, Gematsu. Let's see, I guess we'll just start with this. 13 minutes of the Secret of Mana remake, so I guess I'll skip around and watch some of this. It'll take me a lot less than 13 minutes to watch the gameplay. It looks good, honestly. It's gonna be a real hard sell to tell somebody they should play the original Secret of Mana and not instead of the remake. Like, it just makes a lot more sense to do the remake. Interesting. This guy's gonna get more powered up for every secret he plays. So clearly this is a secret thing. It seems like in Secret of Mana there are 3 characters that are in real-time battle scenarios just running around a kind of generic 3D, 2.5D map that are just constantly fighting. How you're controlling all 3 of these characters seems to be slightly up in the air.
What now?
Like, I can't really do anything other than just continuously play weapons.
Blood and plunder.
This is at its maximum already. Yeah, you really don't need 13 minutes of this gameplay footage. It's literally just people running around in circles. You could have made 60 minutes of this style of gameplay. I suppose it's slightly questionable whether there's actual fun to be had. I should have played that first.
I sail the slimy deeps.
Like playing Secret of Mana, yeah. Since I don't have that nostalgia, since I've never played that game before, it may just be name recognizable in the same way that Zelda 2 is name recognizable because it's a Zelda game, but the NES Zelda 2 game is almost certainly not something that you would want to actually play. Let's see. Transform it into a new weapon. Guess the good news is I can do this. I could play this just to play those warrior cards. I don't see a reason to though. So yeah, it could be that Secret of Mana is just too old and not actually worth playing. Our next story is Far Cry from PC Gamer. Far Cry 5 is fun, but its tone is all over the place. And then they have a picture of a star-spangled car jumping off a cliff through rings of stars. Which seems pretty different from the trailers we've seen where it's a like isolated city that's been taken over by a cult. Interesting. Let's see what he can do. He can win. Actually, I totally failed. That was really dumb of me. That's an oops scenario right there. And you wonder why I stay at rank 20 is I don't think things through. I just don't want to be a super slow player. It's not in my nature to do things like that. Sure, I could have taken my time on that. Speaking of mistakes, my card pack opening video got like 4 views. Either the recorded version of it or the live stream. I think the recorded version of it for the most recent expansion. And in a lot of ways, only one video really did well in this latest expansion. So I could say that's Hearthstone's fault, but in all honesty, it's definitely my fault. I started late, I woke up late, and if I had been in there at noon, I would have gotten a lot more views. There might have been a labeling issue because I just labeled it as a card pack opening when I should have put a number. It seems like as soon as I put 150 plus card packs, that triggered something in the YouTube algorithm to show it to at least one more person. On a greater scale, it does seem like now my videos are getting at least 1 view as I'm slowly getting more subscribers and just more views in general, even when subscribers aren't significantly increasing. So no longer are we in the position where it's I'm putting out pre-recorded footage every single day and for months and months on end, like it used to be that no views would happen on any of those videos. Now, I really don't want to and don't feel like I should have to give up on that old footage. I'm hoping eventually, as I get bigger and bigger, there will be a percentage of people that want to go back and watch the old videos. They are supposed to be kind of timeless. Like, they're retrospectives on old games in the first place, so I mean, if this channel is gonna, video game channels only succeed on YouTube by playing the newest games and spending money to buy the newest games, then, well, my channel's just never gonna succeed anyway, so might as well give up on that thought. But I'm hoping as there's a fan base increase, people will go back and watch the old videos, or at least find some of them interesting. It's very hard on YouTube to re-advertise that, and in fact there's really no way to re-advertise that fact. Or show, let's see, what do I want to do? If I play this, then I can't play anything else. If I play this, then I can kill something with 4. So let's do this. And then do this. Job done. Then you turn. So yeah, it seems like we're getting better now for current videos coming out, but I would like people to go back, and 1 or 2 views on a video is still not the 300 plus views that YouTube wants before they even care about anything. But that killed me too. Wow, I am really sucking today. No surprise. The good news is I can cheat this, so it might behoove me to leave the Americas account completely, and not even. Maybe I shouldn't even start on the Americas account. Like, I can play ranked right now, and that's fine. But once I've played the maximum amount of Warlock cards, and I'm just looking for victories, I can just play my secondary account and win. And playing my secondary account has become the go-to move in the post-show now. I'm trying to save as much time. I finally, for the first time probably in at least 2 months, caught up on scheduling videos. This is putting me close to March with everything. Everything being a relatively... It's a relative term though, because a lot of my time slots, two of my time slots, are just not being filled at all. So the kids time slot before the point and click adventure time slot, I stopped doing that, and the 7 o'clock time slot, I stopped doing that. On top of that, for next year, everything is just going to 30-minute episodes, so that puts
None shall.
that makes series
It's time for
much longer. So a series may go for two months, 2.5 months. My goal is to rather quickly, somewhere around halfway through 2018, to have pre-recorded everything, and then by the time I've hit like December 31st, 2018, and have something scheduled, whenever that happens, I want to reevaluate and question if I want to go back and maybe add another time slot back into 2018, or whether I am already into October of 2018 and should just move forward. Having a year or two even of pre-recorded footage doesn't really sound like a terrible idea, but at a certain point too, I don't know. Tragic Master comes on to the chat. Need a hand with quests? Yes, I do. Sorta. I mean, I could certainly cheat it, but I'd much rather play with my friends. So I need to play 20 minions. No, I need to win 5 games with Warrior and play 50 Warrior class cards. This middle one I can trade out. So if you want to help me with that, that's fine. Otherwise, I can do it in the post-show. Cheating. Tragic Master, I bet, is tragic here. So if I send him a wild challenge, it's always nice when people's YouTube things are the same as their Battle.net. Tragic Master says big warrior smile face. Yeah, I started talking about this article on PC Gamer about Far Cry 5, and then I keep not talking about it. I guess that inherently tells me that I really don't care about the Far Cry series. Anyways, though, the trailer makes it seem like it's really serious, but it seems like in actual gameplay that there's actually a lot more silliness, and the Far Cry series has always had a level of that, most definitely. Like, I'm watching a video now of a turkey just attacking somebody and knocking them down over and over again.
The legions I command.
But it seems like Far Cry 5 gets even crazier. And maybe that's what people want, and maybe that's what people don't want. I think inherently the Far Cry Blood Dragon craziness did certainly push people into having a lot more fun with the Far Cry series than they probably had in a while, because it is pretty much just Assassin's Creed or yet another game that is like Assassin's Creed. It comes out every year. There's nothing super special about it. Let's see. Let's do this. And then
strike
this. And then into turn. So yeah, with Far Cry 5 being pushed back, though, it is worth, if people work on it and make it more of a interesting offer, there is a lot of room for improvement. Let's see. After you play a minion, deal 1 damage to it.
I feel empty inside.
And then that. And
strike.
then that. Tragic Master says, I play it slow so you can get those big boys out. Thanks. Yeah, I do have a decent amount of things. Yeah, I'm gonna go through the news rather quickly. Being the weekend before Christmas, practically, there certainly isn't a lot of announcements. We were past the point today, yesterday, the day before, were kind of the cutoff points in which you could mail anything or have anything delivered. If people are doing any last minute Christmas shopping, I bet they're regretting it. Let's see.
The scourge will consume you.
Strike.
Not really sure why I played that card.
Job's done.
Just because I didn't want to play this one and kill everything. So here's a article that really shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody who's been paying attention to Eidos Montreal, or
Out of my jungle.
or the Deus Ex series in total. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided clearly, unabashedly has leaked out the fact that the parent company, I believe Square Enix, that runs Eidos Montreal, maybe I'm wrong about that, forced the upper management forced the creators of Deus Ex: Mankind Divided to have multiplayer, to have
Your torture will continue.
let's see, to
Strike.
have, I believe there was microtransactions in it. That they also, remember, Mankind Divided had the horrible pre-order, choose one of 3 different pre-order bonuses, you can't get all of it unless you pay 3 different times scheme, that they had to backtrack on it. There's been a ton of upper management interference for Eidos and the Deus Ex series, and the person in charge, the upper management of Eidos Montreal, has come out and said they are now going to focus on online gaming, which is kind of what they've been pushed and forced into anyways. It is definitely not what the creators of Deus Ex: Mankind Divided want to do, or the Deus Ex series want to do, or who are also, by the way, the creators of Thief, but Thief is never coming back, so forget that. Like, there's clearly no skill or interest, one or the other, in... I suppose I could have just attacked instead of playing the card. But I guess I need to play the cards, so might as well do it. So yeah, this is really just the fact that the president of Eidos Montreal said we're going to focus more on online gaming instead of the single-player narrative solo experiences that they're known for and beloved for is not really a surprise. So it's kind of just like a no duh. Like, sadly, Deus Ex is one of those series that, kind of like Mass Effect, it's like you want it to succeed, but it's not really going to. Not with the people in charge. Right now, Eidos Montreal is working with the Avengers title in partnership with Crystal Dynamics, which was the Crystal Dynamics is the people who made Rise of the Tomb Raider, so they're not working on a Tomb Raider game. So you kind of see where the Square Enix Eidos connection, there's a lot of people focusing on the wrong things, which is going to almost certainly end up with us having a shortage of good games a year to 3 years from now. Like, I can almost call it right now, the next Tomb Raider game is going to be a little bit late. I'm playing Rise of the Tomb Raider right now. It also has the exact same problems that Mankind Divided had in it. It has a forced multiplayer. It has a skill system that requires you to grind in the solo player to level up and get these skills for no reason other than to make it feel more like a multiplayer game.
The end is coming!
Really just poor design decisions in Rise of the Tomb Raider, on top of a not that well written
For master.
It's not a very well written story, at least so far. I'm almost finished with Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I'll be glad to be done with it because I've spent probably 24 hours playing a single player experience for a game that should have been closer to 15 hours. So when you're in this position as a consumer and you just know that there's this kind of bad company that owns your favorite product, it gets down to the hard decision a consumer has to make when you just have to say, I probably shouldn't buy any more from this series. You probably shouldn't buy any more Mass Effect series until people learn their lesson and make a good one. You probably shouldn't buy any more Deus Ex games until they learn their lesson. And at the very least, you probably shouldn't buy it in the first 6 months, but they're right now selling on Steam Homefront Revolution, which was an awful game. Buggy, full of problems, just not fun in general from what I saw on reviews. But I'm sure there's probably some account somewhere that makes the argument that the long tail sales of Homefront Revolution were good, therefore we should continue down that path. Because if the management wants to do something, they'll find any excuse to do it. So should you buy Homefront Revolution while it's on sale? Well, Humble Bundle just recently gave away Homefront 1, Revolution being the sequel to that, for free. No, you really shouldn't. Not even now. And Homefront Revolution came out at least a year ago. I think you have to institute a lifetime boycott. And I will not get into the ethics, I suppose, of whether your lifetime boycott includes stealing the game or not, but you know, frankly, if a bunch of people pirate a game out of boycott, that's still probably, it could just be used as a data point to continue development in the wrong way. It gets to a bigger argument, and it's an economic argument that there just shouldn't be big companies. Like, clearly, if it wasn't for the fact that there were stockholders demanding more and more profit, we wouldn't have more and more microtransactions and more online play, which were the microtransactions of the old day. Was to have online play to force people to maintain and hold games so they don't go to GameStop or some other store and resell them and get some money back. So it was originally a used game ploy to stop used games from entering the market, but now it's just about microtransactions. Yeah, if there weren't big companies and companies didn't have stocks, then the CEO of iOS Montreal right now, the person in charge, would not be saying what he's saying, which is that they're going to focus on online gaming. Because clearly iOS Montreal doesn't have any experience or skill in that realm. They just don't. They're known for single player experience. If Blizzard is now kind of famous for being known for a
and rule its ashes.
One damage all minions. Or just like, yeah, I could understand Blizzard saying we're known for online games. Blizzard's games are about 50% now online. When you think about Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, Overwatch, and StarCraft is 50% off online and 50% gameplay. Diablo is kind of online too. So if Blizzard came out and said we're only going to focus on the online part of our games, it would make sense. But iOS Montreal? No.
I live to serve the Lich King.
That makes no sense at all. Let's see, let's move on because that was a bit of a rant. Although ranting is not a terrible thought right now. Dinosaur Games made a proof of concept visual that they submitted to Sega for a new Jet Set radio, which, according to this image, they were pitching it as Jet Set Radio Evolve, and you know, it doesn't look bad at all. I'm not sure if Jet Set Radio is actually a series that would succeed in modern day. I've watched some people speedrun it and go through it, and I've thought about playing it myself on PC, but some of the actual just mechanics of the game and how it handles don't look great. But almost certainly if you were going to make a new version of the game, you could work to improve that. And the idea of having a skating game with the ability to spray paint people is not so odd that it would drastically change the problem. I imagine Sega rejected this idea more on the concept of skating games don't sell anymore than anything else. And there definitely is a niche audience for skating games. I'm not sure if there's enough of it to be profitable. Skating games should probably sell, in my mind, a little less than what a football game that's not an NFL game would sell. So like a non-licensed sports game.
Battle detected.
I'm almost out of cards. Out of cards.
Yeah, this video looks fine. It's not really showing too much. It's just showing 2 characters and a small section of the city. And clearly it's been leaked.
Leaving tiles.
Let's see. The title here says, in the end they just want a new Jet Set radio. Austin-based studio Dinosaur Games has shared a visual proof of concept for a new Jet Set radio game. It pitched to Sega that was ultimately rejected. It was called Jet Set Radio Evolution. Let's see. Let's see. They said they spent a week of animating and building a city for the presentation, which was ultimately turned down by Sega. Inherently, the thing here is this Austin-based studio I've never heard of is Dinosaur Games, which probably was a big problem for Sega in the first place. You're just not going to get a Japanese company to give you any attention whatsoever if you don't have their respect in the first place, if you're not a known name. And Sega is only going to deal with its partners. The other issue is it's kind of stupid. You could have easily just made a game sort of like Jet Set Radio, not use the name, and I imagine that's what they're going to do with this, is just translate this into a different game that's slightly not infringing. It's not like Sega can really hold the copyright for a game where you skate and a game where you graffiti things. Jet Set Radio in particular has a slight problem in which it gets potentially rated higher in some countries for encouraging illegal activity of graffitiing, so you could write the story around that, hopefully. On Twitter, he shared some more information. The Dinosaur Games, one of the workers shared things. The pitch was for a new game. I have an idea for the combat in my head that I think would work perfectly for this game. There you go.
We're gonna be rich. Job's done.
We never received any detailed information from Sega as to why they said no. Sony loved it, quote, "To be honest, I really don't care if my studio never gets to make this. I just want anyone to make a new Jet Set Radio." And I think that's where this inherently goes down to, is this, by Dinosaur Games, it was a terrible idea to pitch it. And it's a terrible idea to leak it too. If I was a different company now, let's say I was Gearbox. Gearbox was in Dallas. Dinosaur Games is in Austin. That's a few hours drive difference, but not that far away on the Texas scale, in the United States scale at least. If I was Gearbox, if I was Randy Pitchford, and I had seen what they did, I would blacklist Dinosaur Games right now. I'd say, I am no longer, we're going to reject any pitch they make out of hand. We're not going to look at any of their work because they have loose lips, and loose lips sink ships. Quite literally. Like, people in the video game industry pitch and get rejected all the time. The thing that's unprofessional and unacceptable is to then go to Twitter and show the work that you pitched. Say Sega in a year did want to hire Dinosaur Games to make a new Jet Set Radio. Well, now they probably, there's a lot of thought that they would leak more information, or that they would, when it finally got announced that Dinosaur Games was making this Jet Set Evo, people would just assume that it's been in development this whole time, so people are going to be really frustrated when they say it's 4 years off, particularly if you announce it's 4 years off 4 years from now. And it's just not professional to air dirty laundry like that, or even air clean laundry. So yeah, I don't expect too much for Dinosaur Games. The one thought here is we could Google search Dinosaur Games, and because it's such a generic name, I can't even find it.
Your soul shall be mine. Victory or death.
Like, because every time I type in Dinosaur Games, all I get are games involving a dinosaur that kids would want to play. Let's see. Here, I found the website, Dinosaur Games Entertainment. Projects. What have they made?
The legions I command.
Oh my god, nothing. They made the McDonald's Happy Meal experience by South by Southwest 2016. They've made Mutant Football League. They've made Finding Monster Adventures. And that's kind of it. And it seems like there's only 3 people here. So, they're a completely unproven, unprofessional company. No
Job's done.
surprise. No surprise whatsoever that Sega would just inherently reject them out. Let's see. The Mech Knight Chronicles is the only thing that Giant Bomb says that they've created. Like, the first thing that even shows up is their LinkedIn site. Not even their main page. Their own website is below their LinkedIn.
Back to work.
So then you get down to a point where you're almost wondering if this was even news. I suppose it's news, but it's news that should be reported in a different way. It should be reported that this tiny company that hasn't proven itself thinks it's ready for the big leagues to remake and continue a game that no other company has been allowed to do. And almost certainly if Sega did want a better version of Jet Set Radio, they would just make it themselves. Tragic Master says Mutant Football was pretty awesome. Okay, I didn't play it. So yeah, maybe they are great for the one game they've made, but that's not going to mean anything to a Japanese person. You have to be proven. You have to have been doing it for 20 or 30 years. Japan as a country has this whole style of running businesses where you don't even get from senior to upper management until you're 60, 70 years old. That's why we have things like the president of Nintendo practically dying in office if he didn't actually die in office. I believe he did. He may have stood down for the last couple of months.
Job's done.
Incredibly slow to adopt new ideas and young people. So, yeah. There's a much better way they could have done this. They simply should have just not called it Jet Set Radio and just made a game and released it and then waited for the lawsuit and defended it. That would have gotten more attention in the first place. This game is the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio by Dinosaur Games. Should have been the thing that the title of the news article, and they should have just released it on the stealth. Inherently, whether it's a Japanese company or it's any company, it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. That's just the way the world works in everything. It's stupid, and I wish it wasn't true, but it is. You will get rejected very quickly if you ask for permission for things, but if you just do it and then see if you get in trouble, it usually works in your favor. That's mostly because people who manage things are bad managers, and it is always the safe bet to say no to something, and always the risky bet to say yes.
It's time for a little blood.
Let's see. PC Gamer has an article called Hearthstone Dungeon Run Bosses Ranked by Their BS. Let's see what the ranking is. Number 5, Azari the Devourer. Let's see. I think he's the one that destroys your cards. Next one is Exali the Unscathed. I believe he's the one that does 2 damage to every card. It's hard to, without reading all of this. All I can really read is the names. Vastrazi the Ancient is the next one. He seems to summon creatures for free. The Darkness is the next one. And then King Togwaggle is the number 1.
You're so sweet.
I haven't gotten back into actually playing any of the dungeon runs. There's just really no time for it. But I imagine I will be rather frustrated with them by the time I am done playing them all. But then you don't really have to play them either, so have fun with them while you're having fun with them. Play them for a little bit and then do a dungeon run every now and then come back a month later. As long as they don't get rid of the dungeon runs, which I doubt they would do for at least the next 2 years. You've got at least 2 years to play on, but play with it. Next article we have, Obsidian came out specifically and said no microtransactions in of any kind are in their new RPG. Despite the fact that Take-Two is sort of involved in that it's being published by their new independent publishing division called Private Division, and Take-Two has come out and said that they plan on putting microtransactions in every single game going forward. This is inherently the problem of people speaking and saying anything, but they have to say things at the shareholders meeting to convince the shareholders to continue buying their stocks and not sell it and lose the company the fake valuation that it has. So people who are interested in the Obsidian RPG can rest assured, looking at a still picture of the Obsidian RPG, I'm not exactly so sure this is a game for me. It looks a lot like the Fallout 1 RPG game that might just be a little too zoomed out for me. And it may just have too much dialogue. Like, this Obsidian screenshot I'm looking at, if it was just one line of dialogue every now and then, kind of like Diablo 1, and then the rest of it is clicking and fighting enemies, that's a playable style of game that I could cover. But if it's a lot of discussion, a lot of talk, a lot of narration, in that 2.5D isometric perspective, that doesn't really interest me.
Total corruption, total power.
Yeah, and I don't know if I really have time for any more RPGs. I've done Skyrim. I think that's the most RPG there is for a while. I've skipped over Fallout 4, and I don't think that many people are gonna really complain because I did skip over Fallout 4. I might go back and play Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas at some point. I think I would definitely consider playing that over an Obsidian game. There's a long history of old RPG games, but getting them to the point where I could actually play them, or where I'd have time to play them, is very difficult. This won't really matter to a lot of people, but it matters to me because I am a big fan of the Scum engine and the new virtual machine Scum VM to run old DOS-based Scum games. They have officially released version 2.0. So with Scum VM 2.0, they've really started to spread out and cover games that really aren't on the Scum engine. Yeah, for the most part, they've finished all the Scum games and gotten them all to run perfectly, or as good as they probably ever will run. And so now they're moving into Sierra games, and so there's a ton of 32-bit Sierra adventure games that they now with 2.0 support. And usually for Scum VM, when they say they support something, they really mean it runs pretty perfectly. So the games are Cranston Manor, Full Pipe, Gabriel Knight 1 and 2, King's Quest 7, King's Questions, never heard of that one, Leisure Suit Larry 6 High Res, Leisure Suit Larry 7, Lighthouse, Mixed Up Mother Goose Deluxe. A lot of these are probably not worth even remembering in these days. Phantasmagoria 1 and 2, which was funny because I was working with Scum VM and I had seen that they said they supported Phantasmagoria, and then I could not find it, or it wasn't working, and it turns out the reason why it wasn't working is that I had seen an announcement for 2.0, but I was using an older version. The infamous game Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, which is a porno game from early days, maybe the first live action, a full motion video porno game to ever be made for a PC. There's most definitely sex games before it. Police Quest 4, a game called RAMA, I'm not sure what that is. And then Riven, the sequel to Myst. Riven, the sequel to Myst, specifically, I do not believe is using the Sierra engine. So this was a specific effort to get the Riven running. This is the original version of Riven instead of any. There may have been 2 or 3 remakes of Riven. There was at least 5, I think, remakes of Myst. And at least the original version of Myst already runs in the Scum VM. Does it run any better than DOSBox? I'm not really sure. It probably does. At least the thing about the Scum VM community is that they seem to have more people interested in it, and they seem to continue to work on things, whereas a lot of other virtual machine emulator communities have barely one person working on it. There's bugs that go unfixed for years. Projects get abandoned. People don't care about it. The Scum VM may at some point just start integrating emulators to the point where you're playing NES games or Sega Genesis games in the Scum VM, just because the community is more active. Of course, bringing in different communities could also cause them a lot of trouble, because with every new community is the potential for new drama. Next game is called Shivers, never heard of it. Space Quest 6. Starship Titanic, never heard of it. The Dark Crystal, that may be based off the Jim Henson movie did Dark Crystal. Time Zone, never heard of it. Torrance Passage, never heard of it. And Ulysses and the Golden Fleece, never heard of it. And they also have improved joystick support, which on the RetroPie I was actually very surprised that if you launch a Scum VM game with a joystick in that game, it actually works as a mouse, which I didn't think it would. Improve the overall audio and video systems. And various small enhancements suggested by other users. You could look at the complete release notes. And then they list all of the code contributors, and there's a list here of at least 50 people. And then they list all of the community members and testers, which there's a list of another 50 people, and then translators that keep the project running on other languages, and there's at least another 50. And then porters and packagers, and there's about 10 people listed there. And then sponsors that help them maintain their website, is they have one there. And finally a thank you. So a very, very active project, open source project. Again, it is worth pointing out though that adding these games probably means that there will be a few bugs with them, but it will at least probably be playable to the end. And by the time they get to 2.0.1, I imagine they will have fixed a significant number of game breaking bugs. They've got new ports for RISC OS, which is the reduced instruction set computers OS. So I don't know if that's a specific OS or if that's just a general term. Yeah, there is a website called RISC OS. It's made in Cambridge, England, and it seems to be for ARM devices. Yes, they have a RISC OS build for Raspberry Pi and some of its competitors like the Beagle board and the Panda board and some other ones I've never even heard of. Let's see about the general things. They added a command line option that would be helpful.
I must choose.
What's funny is, particularly around the ScumVM build on my RetroPie, I realized there was probably a no splash screen option that I should have enabled. That sadly I don't have a RetroPie anymore. I don't have the Raspberry Pi board to work on that build anymore, which is probably for the better, because then that means I'll focus more on my channel. But I am missing it. Improved audio latency for joysticks. I'm not getting into real specific there, but improved handling of joysticks. The screenshots are now PNG format.
We're gonna be rich. For me.
Let's see if anything is generally worth mentioning. There's a lot of improvements specifically for one game. How have I managed to not get either of the quests that I wanted to get done, and yet I've gotten all of these things? Tragic Master says I'm going to have to run after this one, but it was fun catching up with you after my 2 months break. We'll be on more often if you ever need quests later, man. Thanks for the show, plus games. Plus the games. Okay. That's great. So I probably don't even need to, well, theoretically I don't need to do anything but play 3 more warrior class cards. So we could do that right now and then just concede, and then I want to break up this recording. Tragic Master helped me get some of the daily quests done. Let's see. The Mac OS port for ScumVM got an improvement on picking the MIDI device. Yeah, not a ton of upgrades, but it is interesting and nice that they got to a 2.0 version.
You asked for it.
Victory or death!
So I need to play just 3, probably 4 of these cards, and that'll be it. It's kind of ironic that I can talk about ScumVM for that long, and the real video game news is just, there ain't a ton of it. There really isn't.
Battle detected.
That's one. Actually, I should have played this first. That's 2.
Battle commencing.
I suppose I should just play till the end, because I do need to get victories too. It would be a waste of time. At least play till the point where it looks like I'm not gonna... There's an article here that says Falcom recruiting staff to create a new series, Yeez, Y''S or just YS, and Trails titles. That's 3 cards played. So Falcom, I suppose, is not a company that I'm super known with, but we can expect some new Yeez games and Trails games. I think Trails has something else at the end of it, but I don't remember exactly what it is. Trails of Dissidia or something like that. Let's see. There's a rumor that Atlas is working on a follow-up or a remake of the niche popular hit Catherine. The main problem with Catherine is that it was a story about a guy who's cheating on his girlfriend. It was heavily advertised as being slightly sexual. I think it was slightly sexual, but then the main gameplay mechanic is a platformer that was actually rather difficult too. So, like, it almost is like a modern version of something like Qbert, and I'm sure there's probably a better game out there that it's like. But,
Battle commencing.
It really wasn't the right gameplay for the story they were telling, nor was it the right story for the gameplay that they were adding. And so you had very disconnected things. On top of the main gameplay mechanic, there also was an element
I live to serve the Lich King.
There's definitely an element of RPG dating simulator in it. Catherine probably would have been a great game for me to play, like, for Valentine's Day this year, since I covered Honey Pop last year, and Honey Pop 2 probably won't be out by this Valentine's Day. But with the YouTube, like, not suitable for most advertiser thing and the adpocalypse and all that, there's no game like that I feel comfortable that I could safely cover and get monetization on it, and that still is.
I have no time for games. I have no time for games.
By his
Battle commencing.
So yeah, maybe at some point I'll play Catherine, but I wouldn't rush it. I'm pretty sure it's on PC. But it was also supposed to be due out at the end of 2017, so in the next 2 weeks. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's see if I can find Catherine and find out if it's if it even came to PC. No, it's not even on PC. It would be an Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 game only, so I couldn't even play it if I wanted to.
I wonder.
At the end of each turn, game form or summon a random form. Cost. Destroy a damaged minion. Let none survive. This.
Job's done.
So, Your Gamer has this article about a counterfeit NES console that opened up the Russian games market. It's called the Dindy, D-E-N-D-Y, and it does look like a counterfeit NES that I imagine came out sometime. And it says December 1992 by a Russian technology company. And I imagine it might have just played NES games. Maybe or not. there were certainly a lot of unlicensed games that would play on the Nintendo Entertainment System because there really wasn't any encryption or security on it. And you'd find games that say absolutely not for use in the Nintendo Entertainment System, but there literally was no other thing to use. That being said, how open is the Russian video games market? There, off the top of my head, are no well-known like AAA video game developers in Russia. There just aren't. I can't think of any well-known amazing Russian game other than Tetris, which was 30 years ago. Like, what else was even programmed by a Russian person that was living in Russia? There's probably been some Russians that have come over to the United States or gone to Japan and made games, but that market is not open, and that is something that other countries such as China should take as a message, as they very potentially have been, they definitely have been having counterfeit Xboxes and PlayStations sold and promoted by their government because they were made in China, but China's not really making any games for the rest of the world. When they make an online game, it's only playable in Chinese language in China, and it never goes any further than that. And so I would hardly argue that the Dindy did absolutely nothing. Piracy is still extremely common and often the only option in Russia too, so it's not like people are selling games in Russia. Poverty is also very bad in Russia, so it's not like people couldn't afford to buy games in Russia. So at least that's my understanding of the situation. So yeah, kind of wish things had gone different. I wish the NES opened up the games market to Russia and there was a whole generation of Russian programmers making Russian games that were fun and appealing to the world in general, and that we'd have better games out there instead of kind of having nothing. Well, we've been going a little long for this episode, so let's break it up here. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.